Thank you, thank you. Mr. Prime Minister, distinguished guests, I feel very humble speaking after the former Prime Minister of New Zealand. As introduced, I also had a number of political appointments, but all came by selection. Prime Minister Jimboja came by election. I realize, I'm sure it's very difficult to get elected. In fact, I tried to be elected politician once here in Khon Kaen province. I tried to experiment with campaigning. That was in 1995 at the area in front of the provincial office. And nobody listened to me. I don't know why, I could not talk to the people in terms of political speech. I can only do academic speech. So I like to emphasize this feeling when I'm in front of the elected minister, official, how humble I feel. Former Prime Minister already talked about a number of very important issues on development. My subject, my topic is about growth of the GMS and development partnership. I realize all the major problems, issues, international and domestic, identified by former Prime Minister Boja, but I will focus more on growth of the GMS and development partnership. These two phrases, I put them in the same sentence because growth of the GMS has a lot to do with development assistance and partnership. And for the future, I really believe that good development partnership program can only enhance growth of the GMS. Why is development partnership so important for GMS growth? I have a long story to tell in a very short time. As we all realize, I show the number. The next slide will show the number. GMS growth began only about 25 years ago as a GMS and started to accelerate less than 20 years ago, short time. And now it is a model for sub-regional development. Before that, there was an idea about cooperation, like the Water Mekong River Cooperation, initiated by Dr. Bunrod Bintasan, like 40, 50 years ago. But politics was in the way. International politics, domestic politics was in the way. The GMS areas suffer from big power conflicts and rivalry and international politics for almost 100 years. I always want to remind all of us about history. From about 1850, colonization by the British destabilized China. And by the French, turned Vietnam, Laos PDR, and Cambodia into French colonies. By the end of the Second World War in 1945, it took Vietnam until 1954 to be independent from France. But that was only the end of a beginning, the beginning of a bigger war, the Vietnam War, the war staged by the US against communism. That war involved also Laos PDR, Cambodia, and Thailand in different ways. Sometimes I feel very guilty about that history of Thailand. The Vietnam War ended in 1975, but the Cold War came which involved the Soviet Union, kept Vietnam and Laos PDR very much out of the world market until it ended in 1989, with the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Internal conflicts in Cambodia also kept Cambodia out of the world market until then. So it was only from about 1991, 1992 that the idea of the GMS emerged, especially at the ADB. But Myanmar was still occupied with internal political issues until 2010, when Myanmar could participate more fully. They participated before, but they participated more fully in the GMS in economic cooperation from that time. Such troubled history explains why there were so many serious economic and social problems in the GMS. Only when all countries open up economically and politically that outside aid agencies could begin to work on the GMS. And the GMS offered the best agenda for development assistance because they got all the problems to be solved, including poverty, decent work, human rights, gender equality, disability, and environment sustainability, etc., etc., etc. I copied it from The King and I, when King Rama IV did not know what to say to Anna. He said, etc., etc., etc. It was the ADB that provided the platform for GMS, Development Strategy and Cooperation, platform for GMS, Development Strategy and Cooperation. The basic menu, as we learn in economics, for development is, number one, market economy by means of private trade and investment. Top on the line, number one, market economy. Number two, physical infrastructure, particularly for GMS connectivity. Three, organizing money and banking sector. Four, promoting the development and adoption of science and technology to enhance competitiveness. And number five, maybe most important one, institutional infrastructure to ensure that market economy works for the benefits of the majority. This menu we learn in economics at school. From the beginning of the GMS cooperation scheme, many countries and development agencies have joined in providing assistance, both bilaterally and through certain institutions, such as Mekong Institute. The countries that gave aid include also China and Thailand, both members of the GMS. So far, the outcome has been generally good. This is because the development agenda is clear, because they include the basic things that need to be done. What we are interested in is what next. GMS today is not what it was 20, 25 years ago. I think all of us know that. I am sure of that. Yunnan, China and Guangxi, China have advanced in infrastructure and economic competition. The north and the northeast of Thailand have taken off. Myanmar is busy coping with the trade and investment demand. Vietnam is changing rapidly, putting pressure on demand for infrastructure and urbanization. Laos PDR is busy managing its natural, particularly river resources. Cambodia is facing growing demand for better life and living conditions. These are the priorities. These varying priorities, with varying priorities. Development agencies working on the GMS need to identify a common theme on which they can collaborate. I am sure there could be a number of common themes. Looking at GMS today and into the future, I think one challenge is on how to ensure that the market economy works for the majority. Otherwise, the problem of inequitable growth will be serious. As the GMS people, particularly the new generation, which far outnumber the older ones, are now into the market economy. They all want to do their own things. We must make sure that their expectation is fulfilled. How do we achieve that? The issue is about the state and the people. The issue is about the state and the people, the role of this. For market economy to work, a degree of fair competition must be established. The state, I've been with state for a long time, having more responsibility is inclined towards more control. I've been a member of all these controlling agencies. The people having to be responsible for themselves first. They have to be responsible for themselves first. They want more flexibility. So you have state wanting more control, inclined towards more control, and the people want more flexibility. So the society needs a good institutional infrastructure to ensure fair competition in the marketplace. This is also to include assistance program for the ones with disadvantages. Do we see a common theme for development assistance agencies here? I am proposing only one, an efficient and equitable market economic system as a common theme. Efficient and equitable market economic system as a common theme. In fact, the subject of market economy was the one adopted by MI 20 years ago, emphasizing mainly the functioning of the market. We had so many lecture series about how market perform. Over the last 20 years, MI has expanded the training and seminar subjects for human resource development to include many issues challenging the development of the GMS. Issues concerning market economy presented in terms of commercialization have also been included more recently. I am proposing that they should be intensified. As each GMS country has its own market economic system, which varies in terms of the degree of being liberal and in the form of intervention by the state. A good development assistance program must engage local institutions. As I say, they are all different, so we must engage local institutions. This is where partnership came in. This is where partnership comes in. This is the idea of sharing responsibility as eloquently but articulated by the title of this seminar, forum. I'm only suggesting the market economy as a common theme. It is the real challenge, not only for the GMS, but for all over the world. Even in the US, which is supposed to be the champion of market capitalism, the market there, as you heard from the speeches during this campaign, the market there has been found to create even more inequity. And the market economic system in Europe has had so much state intervention that the state is overburdened with public debt. This is not to mention Thailand, a GMS member. Our market economy has helped reduce poverty, but aggravate inequality, which is a cause of social conflicts that we experience today. This is a clear evidence that we are in need of a better competition regime. Based on my experience, particularly in Thailand, the most challenging aspect of the competition regime of market economy is the regulatory regime. Market liberalization must be accompanied by an efficient regulatory system, for otherwise, benefits from trade will be fully privatized, while its costs socialize. Benefit, privatize. Cost, socialize. In the case of Thailand, let me explain to you some problem we have. We experienced a major financial and economic crisis in 1997, 1998, because we lack a good regulatory regime for the financial sector at that time. That has been rectified. Now we have in place institutions to regulate the ICT and energy sectors. But we still have problems with so many others, like civil aviation, fishery, employment and human trafficking, trading and endangered species, etc., again. Could you realize, could you ever imagine Thailand being the so-called civil aviation hub? Planes from Thailand not allowed to enter the US by ICAO, by US regulatory regime. We are supposed to be the major exporter of fishery products. We are encountering these IUU problems. The fishery, the illegal, unregulated, unregistered fishery. We have problem with TIP, trafficking in person, getting this flag from the US. We have problem with CITES, trafficking, trading of endangered species. And now we heard from Prime Minister Boucher that the number of animals double. So how do we deal with all these CITES? These problems have become more serious. I emphasize, more serious. Because the international community demand that they need certain standards. For otherwise, trade will be jeopardized. They could ban trade from us, of us, if we do not comply with this standard. So ladies and gentlemen, as you can see how the seminar program is structured, the idea is for the development assistance partners and GMS government agencies to develop the program together. The program I am proposing is about how to make the market economy, the commercialization, work for the benefits of the majority of the GMS people. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention.